Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. I promise I'm ready. Um, Hi, this is Bunny, and welcome to Bunny Musings. Um, yeah. Okay. Wow, we made it. Um, have you ever felt something that was just right for you? Like, you just know it and you feel it, and you're like, at least once in my lifetime, I have to give that a shot. Well, that's kind of how YouTube has always been for me. I sort of grew up um, being raised by the internet and just the creators who were on YouTube at the time. And this was long before anybody had coined the term iPad kids or iPad babies. Um, but yeah, I was certainly attached to that thing. And I watched creators like Dan and Phil and Captain Sparkles for many years, and I still watch them. And it was like the formative time of my life to the point where Dan and Phil are kind of like my internet dads, which anybody who watches Dan and Phil knows that they literally did a tour about that concept and how they accidentally raised a whole generation of people. And they kind of joke about it, but it genuinely is like the reality of the situation for me. And fortunately for me, I ended up in a decent little corner of the internet. And yeah, I think I turned out okay. I hope. Um, but yeah, it was nice that being nerdy and being different and just like little qualities like that, like actually having fun in life, were things that were celebrated in those communities rather than hidden. So a lot of my values and worldview sort of derive from very small moments that these creators probably don't even think about or remember, which is so wild to think that something you say could have such an impact on somebody. But yeah, that old era of YouTube really just had me hooked, I guess. It had me in a chokehold. I was like, what the? I was searching for the word and I was like, what on earth is that? Yeah, that era of YouTube had me in a chokehold. And I don't think it was a bad thing. You know, that era of YouTube was like really casual and people just kind of sat down and talked to a camera about whatever they wanted. And at various stages of my life, I've wanted to give YouTube a chance, and I just never have. Like, I tried, and I would say I was going to do it, and then I wouldn't do it, or I would be too busy, and I don't know, it just got to the point where I kept circling the idea and getting closer and closer to what I wanted it to be and what I wanted it to look like and the kind of things I wanted to talk about, and actually living enough life to have something to talk about. And I don't know, it just feels like it's time. Like those different eras of my life, I had the hope and I had the dream but it wasn't time yet. And also, I was given advice in that era of my existence, like maybe my senior year of high school. And yeah, someone told me that if I do it, to not do it from a place of ego and to wait until I had something to share. And that's great advice until you're like, what the hell does it mean to do something not from a place of ego? Like, what if I think I'm doing it from a not ego place now, but it is an ego place and I just don't realize it because ego, right? And so there's that. And also, like, wait until you have something to share. Well, I have things to talk about, but that's because I think a lot and I spend a lot of time with myself and thinking. And it's like, if I'm going to be thinking and thinking a lot about these things, I might as well talk about it. I don't know, verbalizing it is a lot different because you can journal all you want, but for me, there's something about saying it out loud that kind of helps me process it a little bit more. And yeah, I really just don't vocalize my thoughts enough. I don't know. I thought it would be fun. And so here I am at 3 a.m. It's almost 4 a.m. Um, starting a podcast or a YouTube series. I don't know what this is going to become. And yeah, but I've been kind of circling this since I was younger, and of course it's taken many, many, many iterations over time. Like, for instance, when I was really young, I it was like the era which like kid toy unboxing videos became popular. And there's like some cursed video of me unboxing Shopkins. If anybody knows what those are, shout out, because those were there in my awareness long before Pop Mart was, and all the new blind boxes, which are also fun. Um, Same mechanism, it's just anything in packaging, we love to see it. Um, but yeah, and then many years went by, and then junior year, I was like, I'm gonna do vlogs. And I think I recorded myself doing homework, which is very funny. Because I don't know, like it never really went anywhere, and then senior year came around and I was incredibly busy. And I was like, I'm really gonna start this time. And I did kind of. And then um I like even filmed a what was it, like December favorites video, and it actually wasn't half bad. Like, I watched it back recently and I was like, oh, I actually don't hate this. Like, if this existed on the internet, I would have been fine with it. But I never posted it because I never edited it. That's so hard to say. Anyways, yeah, so it never really went off the ground. And then I did like a travel vlog too and like a baking video. And then, yeah, I just kind of never published them. And not even like, I never put them together either. They're just like clips of me recording things, which I realized like never do a time lapse of you dancing because that is the worst thing I've ever seen. It's like the most cursed video in existence. But yeah. So I don't know for certain that this time is going to be different, but it certainly feels different. It certainly feels more me, and I've definitely lived more life, which isn't a lot. Honestly, it's only been like 4 years since that time. But, or maybe not. Maybe it's been longer. I don't know. Time is a concept. You know, what even is time? But yeah, here I am finally starting, which, like, maybe it just wasn't meant to be at that time, because I had the want to create and I knew where I wanted it to end up, but it's not the same thing as knowing what to talk about and being excited to talk about those things. And so, yeah, I kind of just wanted the space to open up or even to just like claim space in existence and speak into the void. Like, um, yeah. And then maybe, you know what? Maybe people will show up, maybe they won't. But at the very least, I will have tried. And that feels like the most important thing to me because it got to the point where I kept circling this idea and I was like, if I don't do it, am I gonna wake up in 20 years and wish that I did? And the answer was probably yeah, because it's been, I don't know, maybe 10 years. And every time I think I should have tried and I should try. And then now I am trying. But I've totally lived a lot more life since that point in time. Like, my fandom experiences alone, I kind of took a little page out of Dan's book. And see, here's the thing that I mean by like creators say like the tiniest little thing and then it like absolutely creates a ripple effect in somebody else's life. And like they would never know. But I'm pretty sure Dan was streaming on YouNow or something, which if anybody knows about YouNow, that's kind of crazy. That was an era of existence. Um, but yeah, he said something about being well-rounded or well-cultured or like just trying a lot of things. And I was quite young. And so that kind of shaped how I pursued my interests and how I even pursued my education. I always made sure that I was well balanced. It wasn't just, oh, I need to do math and science because, like, STEM is important. It was like, no, the humanities deserve their time and place too. And honestly, the humanities were kind of my favorite. Like literature and history certainly hold a special place in my heart and in my brain space because tell me why I read books and I'm analyzing them for fun. Like nobody's paying you to do this. Nobody is asking you to sit there and think about the characterization of this random romance book character. But that's what I do. And so, yeah. And so, with that mindset, I kind of like expanded my worldview a bit more. Like I got into it, all started with music, honestly. I'm pretty sure that's what Dan was talking about. He was talking about music and trying, like, listening to new albums and recommending music. And I was like, I'm totally gonna listen to everything he says just to try it. I did not. I did not listen to everything. Young me was very ambitious in that regard. And, like, I had a very particular method of doing so. It was like anytime I wanted to listen to a new artist, I would listen to their entire discography from like the very first thing they released to present time, like totally chronological order. And it was kind of nice because sometimes you could hear the evolution of their artistry over time. And for certain artists like Queen, you could literally hear the decades changing as their albums progressed and just like the style of music that they made. But yeah, so it all started there. And I got into like MCR and, like the quote unquote emo music because it wasn't quite that era anymore. Like that era had come and passed. Come and passed. But yeah, I got into emo music and then I got into rap very briefly. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna check out K-pop. But see, at the time, I don't think my brain conceptualized how YouTube worked and that YouTubers were real people, um, or that they had backlogs of content and like what was appearing on my screen wasn't something they had just produced recently. Like sometimes I was watching content that was produced years prior and I just like had no idea because I was a kid and didn't understand how the internet works or anything like that. But I also didn't really conceptualize that like other places were a thing and that other regions were a thing. I don't know if this is like a kid thing or if this was just a me thing. But like it's like okay, I knew that Dan and Phil were British, for example. But like I don't think my brain totally comprehended that there was like another landmass somewhere else. You know, it it's like that part of the puzzle didn't quite make sense to me. But I also have aphantasia, which means I don't have mental pictures. Like it's straight up black screen up there. And so, yeah, it was it's not something I can picture. But yeah, I definitely spent that era of my life learning that other regions existed and that people exist in those regions. And that was quite fun. And so that was like my first time learning about Korean culture and Japanese culture. And then fast forward to my college days, I'm taking Korean classes. And then fast forward a little bit more, and I'm studying abroad in Korea. And yeah, spending like a decent amount of time there. And so just kind of like going through the eras of my life and keeping that principle of like, I need to be balanced and well rounded and cultured. It kind of definitely changed the trajectory of my life. And that's kind of the content that I would like to talk about, I guess, because I have some fun stories, or stories that I think are fun, anyways. But yeah, it wasn't until I burned out at the ripe age of 21, but technically I had been burned out for way longer, because I kind of had high expectations ever since I was really young to do well in school. And like, I honestly wish some adult had told me, oh, you're never going to amount to anything, because at least it would cancel out the many other adults that are like, you're going to do great things in life and you're going to be so successful and you're going to do all these things and I know you're going to make a difference in the world. And like, that's nice to hear, but it eventually creates pressure. um, yeah. And I don't know, having that kind of pressure for my entire life certainly led to astronomical levels of expectations for myself. And I burned out at 21 and I left college, which is like insane, right? Like, who does that? Well, a lot of people do that probably. But my whole identity was formed of, you can't do that. You can't do anything but be the best and be good. And to sort of take time off and to really think about everything I had experienced in life and think about how I got here and what I really want and who I even am outside of performance and productivity is, yeah, after spending a year doing that, I can finally say that what I was pursuing in college I didn't actually want to do. It was just something that I thought I had to do because that's what you do in society. But there are other paths in life. Clearly, because I'm not on the one that I was on previously. And so, yeah, it's kind of like knowing you have one shot at existence. Are you going to keep burning yourself out and running yourself into the ground, pursuing things for other people? Or are you going to do something for yourself? That was sort of the backbone that I spent the past year building, I guess. And it's not easy. It's not easy to stand on your own 2 feet and be like, this is what I want to do, and say it with your whole chest. Um, but here I am saying it with my whole chest. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but yeah. And so, I don't know. I guess I wanted to give it a shot. And honestly, now that I've started, this feels nice. This feels probably better than I expected, because I was quite nervous to start this and to record this, because it's like I know that I'm going to like it, and once you start, it's like how, like, there's a before and after. You like arrive at a threshold, and then at a certain point at that crossroads, you have to decide where you're going. And I very much would like to do the things that are going to make me happy and mean something to me. And so I guess I kind of just want to talk about what this project might become and what I think of it. So, um, I do read books, and I think it would be fun to kind of do videos talking about specific books that I've read, either like breaking down the characters or the not really the plot, because it wouldn't be a summary. It would just be more like a casual discussion of the things that stood out to me and what I liked or didn't like about it. Um, which, I don't know, I feel like people talk about books, but they don't discuss books with spoilers. Because it totally would be with spoilers, because otherwise, how would I talk about them? But yeah, it would be with spoilers, and I read a lot of romance, and so I specifically, like, I've kind of been fine tuning my taste in male leads, and yeah, I have a very specific archetype of man that I like reading about, and I don't know, it's just very fun. And so I would probably talk about that, and then I have like some fun anecdotes, I guess. Um, some lessons learned, certainly embarrassing stories, the works. And then I kind of love my hobbies. I have a lot of them because, again, Dan being well rounded. And so I kind of literally rotate my hobbies. And so I don't stick with one for a particularly long time. It's just kind of whatever has my attention in the moment. And then I engage with it quite deeply. And then I don't know, I just lose interest and rotate it out. And so I don't know, books and art and fandom culture and I don't know, different little things that I've experienced over time. And yeah, so I guess I just really wanted to speak in the spirit of that old YouTube era that I grew up with, because I don't know, there's a lot of short form content nowadays, and it's all very fast paced. And I guess I just kind of miss more casual things. And so I sort of wanted to make a podcast of the vibe where it's like that friend that won't stop talking to you before it's time to sleep because they're not tired. And um it's accurate because I have always been that friend. But yeah, just that like late night, casual, relaxed sort of vibe. But yeah, maybe I'll talk about things that I've learned and that I've processed, or the things I'm working on because I'm still working. I've spent a year working on myself and I'm still not done. But like, isn't that what life is? And yeah, it's hardly over. But I do have like interest in nervous system health and things like that. So maybe I'll talk about that too because it is quite interesting. But yeah, that was the very first episode of Bunny Musings with your host, Bunny. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited to see where this goes and what I end up talking about and how many episodes I end up posting. Because if I post a second episode, we've officially made it further than we've ever been. And I think that would deserve a round of applause. But yeah. So, I don't know what else to say. I was almost gonna say goodnight, but maybe you're not watching this at night. Good whenever. And yeah, if no one has told you recently you're doing good things, and yeah, I'm proud of you. Keep trucking along, and I'll see you next time.